Are we on chat? If we're on in the chat, put something in the chat for us so we know. Because my button that says like start webinar has disappeared.
Oh, the chat's disabled.
Dang. Y'all all up in the hood. Okay. This is so funny because that means that you've just been sitting here with us while we yapped and shot the shit, waiting for y'all to come in. But the gag is that we were already here. Happy Black History Month.
Okay, I think I
What's up,
turned the
y'all? Thank you, G. My name is HERMIXALOT. I am a co-founder of FemHouse. I am so privileged to be here. For those of you that don't know, I don't know that I've actually said anything public about this, but I was executive director of FemHouse from its founding up until this summer, and I stepped away from that role with great intention to create a new role for myself called Head of Culture. And the animus behind the new Head of Culture role is to diversify the community and to teach y'all something new, and to give you varied perspectives on this scene that we all know and love. So this is the first official program, we'll say, as part of my new role of head of culture. I had to bring my family with me so that I didn't feel nervous about it. Y'all probably know Geexella as our former community manager, one of my favorite artists and people, artist, DJ, producer, activist, educator. One thing about G Capricorn, G keep the jobs on them. Tell me I'm wrong. Look, you got the push behind you, you got your controllers, you got all the cables and some books and shit. You be out here
Listen, out here,
doing
Capricorn. Listen, we love a Cap Queen. That's it. Ah, Shay.
it. DJ Lady D, for me, needs no introduction. For you, needs no introduction. Quite literally living, breathing Black history personified DJ, pioneer, educator, activist, advocate, Chicago house queen, period. The one, the only, there will never be another. The pioneering. Can I get some amens in the chat? I'm about to start preaching, I think. The pioneering, the innovating, the door opening, queen of all that, the president of the Chicago chapter of the Recording Academy. Hello, running for president too, so don't do her. Um, D, thank you for being here with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. And it's Aquarius season, so
Oh
I,
boy.
I love my cappies, but we had to, close the door now. It's Aquarius season.
It's
I
a good
want
transitionary energy though. You
a
feel
great
me?
Listen,
transition. And you are
listen.
right. A cappy keeps a job.
And
Pluralized in
I'm the
all
last
caps.
day. I'm the last day of Capricorn. So right there.
You on the cusp. Okay, that's what's up. Yeah.
Well, we are here to talk with y'all about dance music and activism. I'm gonna be extremely frank with y'all right now. If you're watching, for some reason, this can be a hot button issue for people. If that is true for you, you need to go and get the hell on somewhere right now because we're gonna tell the truth up in here. Dance music is Black music. Dance music is queer music. Dance music is brown music. We're gonna tell you all about why. So I hope you came with your curiosity and your open-mindedness and your spaciousness. If you did not, you need to find yourself something to do today, right now. I'm gonna give you a good 30-second head start before we get into it. G, you tweeted something today that you read that dance music is set to make $2.7 billion over the next year. How does that sit with you?
Not good at all. Like, listen, I'm an anti-capitalist, so I'm like, y'all making these billions of dollars, but I got homies that are still raising money for gender affirming care, that are still raising money to get their rent paid, still getting money to get their utilities, like HIV medication. They shutting down all the trans, like just everything. And I'm just tired of seeing my friends struggling. But these like how you say club owners are like lining their pockets, these labels are lining their pockets, and my friends are not living, they're not surviving. So yeah, it's really frustrating and also disappointing to see because we don't need no more billionaires in this world at all.
D, what do you think about that?
I have to agree wholeheartedly. It's kind of disheartening. You don't want to quit the game. You want to see how you can change it from the inside if possible. So it's a dilemma. It's a catch 22. You're kind of at a loss because you want things to be different. And yet if you exit, there's absolutely no way to make a difference. So you just kind of keep trugging along with a little bit of, spiciness, but also determination, right? Like you're a little mad, but you're like, I know I can fix this. Maybe it's a losing game at the end, but I'm down to play it. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think uh, I see both sides of the coin. It's so funny because G, your answer was very Capricorn, and D, your answer is very Aquarius. Um, and I land somewhere in the middle, It's great to see um dance music making a lot of money and feeding people. And also I think that it's important that we stay mindful of who it's feeding, right?
Mhm.
It's important that we stay mindful about how we show up to the machine and how we're creating space within that machine for equity. There's a lot of inequity. There's a lot of imbalance, right? Some people like to use terms like gentrified and things of that nature, and there's validity there as well. But I sort of see this role that I've stepped into, and part of the reason I wanted y'all here is as sort of like my sisters in arms, like it's our jobs. Unfortunately, it's a tiresome job. It's an often thankless job, but it's our job to take up space. It's our job to hunker down and man spread and say, hold on now, like don't forget about the culture. Don't forget about where this came from. Don't forget about us. Don't forget about our pioneers. Don't forget about the people that aren't here with us anymore. Don't forget about the people that have had to take long breaks to go support themselves because they're not seen as part of the culture that they created and have 3 or 4 jobs to support themselves, such that they don't have time to DJ anymore. Don't forget about the disproportionately sort of like historically exploited and displaced, which are the Black people, the brown people, the queer people that started this, which is why I thought it was really important to kick off the programming with this. Like, what is the basis of this culture? It's really important, right, to look at where we've been to avoid the pitfalls and also to make sure that people remember, to make sure that we're still taking up space in this culture that belongs to all of us in this way. And with that, I'm gonna get off my high horse for a little bit. Mostly my mouth is dry. I need to drink some water and go on mute about that. But I'm gonna give it to Giella, a noted scholar, a recent graduate as well, a multidisciplinary artist and educator. And G is going to spit some game about the history, the roots of this dance music that we all know and love. And I'm going to give it to you, Gigi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lo, for that introduction. And also, I'd be remiss if we did not say how much of Black history that Lo is as well. Okay. Being the co founder of Fem House. All right. Changing lives each and every day. Like, yeah, I could go on and on about how amazing Lo is. But I'm going to let me make sure I can see y'all. Okay, here we go. So this presentation, I'm thinking about basically a queer Black history of house music. And before I kind of like go into the things, I kind of want to build like a container of where I'm coming from, and where the stories I'm going to like take y'all to. So first I want to name, I'm no expert. I'm coming into this, like Lo said, I'm coming into this as a student. I'm coming into this as an oral historian. I'm coming into this as a DJ. And also as a daughter of a also as a daughter of a club kid. My dad's from Chicago originally, so he went to, you know, the warehouse parties and like hung out with all these folks. And so a lot of what I know about house music is through storytelling. And also just want to name that I know we have some experts in the room as well, Lady D being a pioneer of this music. And so I also want to invite folks to share in the chat if I'm missing something, or if you want to add something or have heard something about house music. We Let me see. I love the insider view on this. Yeah, for sure. So please feel free to like add that in the chat if there's something that we can also collectively learn together. But don't get it twisted. How the story of house is very Black and is also very, very queer. So now that I've built this like container for you all, I think it's also really important to talk politically about what the racial landscapes are going on as we think about the history of house music. So we're set in the 70s, and gonna talk kind of about like what was going on nationally across the US in the 70s. Quite a bit was going on. So we start to see kind of the backlash against like civil rights and Black liberation movements. We see that Nixon has declared that there is a war on drugs. Economically, we are seeing a lot that's going on, and also like a decline in deindustrialization. Stonewall, if folks are not familiar, which was a moment in New York City where there was police riots that were happening in bars, and there was a group of like Black and brown queer folks, and specifically Black trans woman Marsha P. Johnson and a Latinx brown woman, Sylvia Rivera, who were sex workers, that were like, nah, we ain't doing this. We not about to have y'all come up in here beating up on us. Like, we're fighting back. So we're seeing some of the aftermaths of that. And then lots of like anti like queer and trans legislation starting to come through. Anita Bryant launches the Save the Children campaign, which is a direct smack in the face, I would say, to queer and trans folks. And we're also starting to see the early years of HIV/AIDS crisis beginning. And so specifically in Chicago, Chicago is a really interesting city because it is a very, and still is, one of the most segregated cities within the US. We saw a lot of beautiful Black radicals come out of Chicago as well. Thinking of Fred Hamilton, thinking of the Young Lords. So lots of like pretty amazing things have happened out of Chicago, and also lots of suppression that was happening in Chicago as well. Chicago police under Mayor Richard J. Daley started to have like lots of aggressive policing when it came to Black neighborhoods. A lot of that anti-Black and anti-queer legislation I was speaking about. Yes, rest in power to Fred Hampton. Lots of like anti-Black and anti-queer legislation coming out. And then something that really tips off kind of this like momentum towards house music was this event called the Disco Demolition Night, which happened in 1979. So I'm going to play a quick clip that is kind of like talking about what this moment was. And I want to make sure y'all can hear this, make sure I shared the right things, but I'm going to play this. Y'all let me know if you can hear it.
Walking out the center field where the fire is burning. The fans are now streaming off the field in great numbers, and I doubt if very few will be left to confront the police as they come in helmets and nightstick gear.
That was the scene between games of a doubleheader at Comiskey Park last night as White Sox owner Bill Veeck went a promotion too far. It was billed as Disco Demolition Night. A rock disc jockey came up with the idea of blowing up disco records as part of his self-serving campaign against disco. and the White Sox went along by admitting anybody bringing a disco record for 98 cents.
You try something, if you don't know how it's going to end up necessarily, you think it's a good idea, and it just got out of hand. He was more popular, had more pulling power than we felt was possible.
So, yeah, and I see someone in the chat, I think, yeah, says like they remember seeing this growing up. And we're going to hold on to this moment because this is going to be a really pivotal thing that happens when it comes to house music. So this was organized by a radio personality called Steve Dahl at Comiskey Park, which is in Chicago, where folks were able to come to this baseball night with a record for less than, like, you could enter with, if you came in with a disco record, you could have like entry less than like $1 so that they could like burn these like records. And without, like, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this is a mostly like white crowd that is burning records and literally blowing up disco, funk, R&B records on the baseball field. Yeah, exactly. And so this really just like kind of sets forth a precedent of like what was happening to Black and brown people at this time, and also the music that was coming. Disco was birthed out of a space of like anti-war, was birthed out of a space of like civil rights. And so a lot of these records are really speaking to like what's happening in a reflection of the time. And so around this time, we're starting to see like house music is beginning to emerge as a response to oppression, as a response to the erasure of disco music, economic hardship. We're starting to see rising homophobia that tried to suppress Black and brown people. But this just pushed them to create new underground dance spaces. And we see this true not only with like Lo was saying, like Black music is also like hip hop music. It's also all these things, and it comes out of this. And yes, house music is disco's revenge, ashe. And thank you for naming and bringing Frankie Knuckles into the space, but we'll get into him in 2 seconds. So I love this quote that was on Beyonce's record. Genres are a funny little concept, aren't they? So house music, how we've been conditioned to talk about house music. House music is a repetitive 4 on the floor beat, often with the clap on the 2 and the 4. So I'm going to play what that means because I'm a musician. I understand sometimes that can be kind of hard to think about. So listen to this song. And when you're counting, we're thinking about the beat and also the clap. And this is like what is making a distinct house beat. So listen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the clap is what is repetitive. Now, why is it called 4 on the floor? That's a great question. Don't know why. Specifically called that, but I'm assuming it's relating to the beat specifically. And then when we're thinking about tempos, usually typical tempos are between 115 and 130. And also house music, original house music tracks often use, okay, it's a 4 kick in a 1 bar match. Thank you, Stacy. Come on, Stacy. And the kick drum hits on every beat. Thank you, DJ Lady D. Ashe. So house tracks often also sample a lot of like classical, funk, soul, drum machines, and also synthesizers. And also house has birthed a whole plethora of other subgenres, which I'll get into later. So all roads lead to the warehouse. Someone mentioned Frankie Knuckles. Rest in power to Frankie Knuckles. I found this amazing article, and someone said that's the big drum on the floor, right? Like in a drum kit where they tap their foot and hits the drum. Yes, thank you, love, for that. So yes, the warehouse, which was in Chicago, And I found this really dope article from that mentions Lady D in the interview. Because y'all don't know, Lady D, that's a legend right there. That's a pioneer. And something that I thought was really powerful, what she said is that, you know, people wanted to dance. It was all about the music. It was all about the DJs. It was all about getting together. And I think something else that was really beautiful that you said in that same article, Lady D, is that we didn't just find it in the club. Like house music was everywhere. It was on the radio. It was like in other clubs. It was all around. And so in the 1970s, Frankie Knuckles moves from New York to Chicago, and he starts DJing at this club called The Warehouse. And this is where house music starts to be innovative, because Frankie Knuckles is starting to blend all these sounds of disco, funk, and German electronic pop, which starts to begin the sounds of house music. And I found this really beautiful article that Frankie Knuckles said, like, he didn't even know they was calling it house music. He just saw a sign that said, like, we sell house records here. And he's like, what is house music? What is that? And the person that was with him was just like, yo, those are the records that you spin at the warehouse. So they call it house music because of you. And he was just like, wow, like this is when I knew, like, I really started to feel accepted, like in this neighborhood, which is Chicago. So I thought that was really beautiful. And also like kind of humbling, like the Godfather of house music's like, what? Y'all calling it that because of like the things that I play? Like that's wild to me. So the warehouse unfortunately closes in 1982, but Frankie Knuckles starts playing at his own club and breaks one of his records in 1984, which is Your Love, produced by Knuckles and also Jamie Principle. And again, this is just a palate cleanser, y'all. Like this is the tip of the iceberg of house music. I'm giving y'all a quick overview, but there's also so many amazing pioneering DJs like we have on this call, Lady D, an amazing promoter in Chicago, helped push house music forward through her DJ sets, working with the Super Jane Collective, which was a crew of women DJs, including DJ Heather, Colette, and Dehoda. DJ Heather, you see in the bottom left, also known for blending deep house records, tech house, and a major force in the second wave of Chicago house. And then we also have other pioneers that were doing things on the East Coast as well. Frankie Knuckles was really good friends with DJ Larry. If folks haven't seen Larry's Garage, an amazing documentary I highly recommend that talks about the Paradise Garage, which was also a very famous nightclub for queer Black and brown folks. And he also started to develop the garage sound of house music. And then also Ron is known for deep, funky house and dynamic sense. Hardy took like house and music into like this raw, high energy, experimental direction when he started playing a lot at the Music Box, which was like also a really dope space for sonic liberation. And so house music is starting to become again a cultural and political resistance. That disco demolition night, like I said, we're gonna bring it back into conversation. So that night, when the demolition was happening, Vince Lawrence also happened to be there. He was an usher that night when he saw that, and he was the producer of one of the first house records on and on that was able to like chart. And there's also this really dope documentary coming out called House Music, like The Sound of Joy or something like that. I have to get the exact name. I'll link that for y'all. But it just premiered at Sundance. That is talking about this like queer renaissance of house music. And so I thought that was like really interesting piece of history that like Lawrence just like happened to be there when this demolition was happening. Thank you. Move Your Body, The Birth of House, Ashe. And then, like I said, the HIV/AIDS crisis is starting to also be a moment where house music is becoming the anthem, particularly Your Love, and also Can You Feel It? And then in the 90s, we start seeing intersections with ballroom culture. If folks are not familiar with ballroom culture, I highly recommend looking that up. Yes, thank you. I'll link the resources for here. But we start to see the intersections with ballroom culture, which is a form of dance music that also happened around the same time, but in New York City. And we start to get tracks like the Ha, which is a really famous like sound and like track music that is like being remixed and rinsed all over the place when it comes to house music. And so I would also be remiss if I did not talk about, you know, some of the pushback that we also see within house music that does need to be given light. At the beginning of this call, I really appreciate Lo naming that tweet that I said, because it's just something that I've been thinking about a lot, is just like the exploitation of like Black women, and specifically Black women vocalists and DJs. I recently did some oral histories with Black women DJs who are over 40. I was thankful to talk to Patty Kane and also Kalina Zanders, where we spoke a lot about how like Black and brown women are constantly not credited in songs, or oftentimes not centered if they don't fit this like European standards of beauty. Also ageism that happens within dance culture. And also just like the how you say, just like trying to fit like Black women into this certain box. And DJ Patty Kane says, you know, I'm a plus size Black woman in a male dominated field. No matter how well I play, there's always the eye candy factor. I have to work twice as hard. And so even though also Patty Kane, phenomenal DJ, just like incredible, like blowing your mind with all the things, you know, a lot of the times, and especially myself, as you know, I identify as well as a Black fat femme that like experiences some of this pushback and oftentimes not gig because I don't fit into these like standards of like what beauty is. And then you have amazing folks like Yvonne Turner, who was a pioneer. Yeah, exactly. 10 times harder. He was a pioneer within house music, but changed her name to Evan Turner because she wanted to hide the fact that she was a woman, because they were intentionally leaving her name off of like certain credits of songs. And so I think it's like really important that we do name this within house music, because we see that less than 2% of DJs are producers that are femme. And there's an even smaller margin for Black and brown, disabled, indigenous folks that are often let out of these spaces because we do not fit these like standards of like what quote unquote Black women should look like. And so I think it's really important to name that, because there's a lot of conversation of like Black women vocalists that are really starting to speak up because they're constantly being like not credited on songs. And a lot of the times it's white cis men that are producers that are using Black women voices and then not even crediting them or featuring them. And this was something that really came up a lot when I was talking with Kalina, which I have so much respect for her, because when she started really doing dance music, she was like, no, you're going to put my name like featured Kalina. Like, I'm not about to be this like omniscient, like Black woman voice in the background on this track. So I think it's really important to like kind of uplift that and name that, you know, that comes up a lot within house music and specifically electronic music. And so something else, you know, I just want to name is that like house music is a living archive. You know, we have huge contributions from Black, queer, gay men and Black women. And also house music births like a whole plethora of music. We have like deep house now, acid house, techno. Also, Ampiano is having some like, you know, pools from house music as well. And there's so much like storytelling and so much community that comes out of house music. And like I said, again, this is just a small a small slice of the history of house music, and down to give more resources for the things. And also, we're going to hear from Lady D, who can probably say even more than some of the things that I've mentioned. But that's it for my part of the presentation. Thank y'all so much for listening. Hopefully, this was helpful for y'all and y'all were able to get some history out of this. I'm going to shut this down and I'm going to help Lady D with her presentation. So y'all better stick around to hear how you can like make it fierce now.
Thank you, Giella. Thank you for the history lesson. Thank you for the context. There's a couple of things that I want to sort of dive a little deeper into that sort of stood out to me. One, when you mention Frankie Knuckles going house music, what the hell is that? What are you talking about? And they're like, nigga, you are house music actually. Like, and he's just like, oh, I think that is so inspiring, right? And it's so um, humbling, especially when I sort of think about my place in this pantheon and like the work that I do, the work that we do at Film House, the work that y'all are doing in your creative lives. You often don't know, right, that like you're creating history. Like that's how history is created, by doing, by being in the moment, by doing your thing, by following your creative compass. Um, and that feels really important and powerful to name, especially for if we have any aspiring, creators on chat with us here. Just do your thing. Be true to what you're doing. Follow what you're doing. Keep going. I promise you that people notice, and I promise you that it matters. And I promise you that is how we continue to push culture forward, and that's how we continue to create culture. And that's how you take up space, and I just felt called to name that just jumped out to me. Um, the other thing, Yvonne to Evan. So I knew that. And I immediately thought of Calvin Harris, who is named something not that at all. And his stage name is Calvin Harris. And he's quoted as saying it's because he wanted people to think maybe he was black because he thought that would make um, give him more cred, basically. And it's so funny how, and by funny, I mean not at all, right? Um, how he can use like this like idea, this like omniscient sort of like tokenized version of blackness to give himself cred, but this black woman can't even use her real name and be her actual self, her full actual self, and get credit on the record.
Yep.
And you know what? That's why it was important for me to bring content like this to FemHouse, right? Like these are stories that matter, and these are contexts that matter because stories and contexts turn into systemic issues, right? Calvin Harris and Yvonne/Evan Turner existing in the same lifetime, and one is like a billionaire, and probably most of you didn't even know who Yvonne was. That matters. And that happened that way for a reason, which is why we're here educating you about this today. So, Gila, thank you for sharing the history. We love you. Thank you for being such a dedicated historian, and your dedication to capturing this history and continuing to push it forward. That's how it lives, That's how it continues to live on. And so much of our history is passed on orally. So we really appreciate you continuing to take up that flag. I'm gonna give it to D now. So what we wanted to do here is like give you the basis of history and then teach you how to apply this history as artists, as creators. How do you apply this history, even as a white person, even as an ally, even if you don't identify as part of these marginalized groups? How do you keep it funky? How do you live a house music life creatively and make sure that the culture lives on? The purveyor of the culture, Darlene Jackson, aka DJ Lady D, aka one of the queens of my life, soon to be one of the queens of yours, is about to tell you
Yes, thank you for that intro. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Yeah, I'm Darlene, or people know me as Lady D. And just to piggyback off of what, has been said is that, you don't have to spend 30 years in this industry like I did or like I have to develop the confidence to be everything that you can be. And so part of what I'm going to talk about next is, showing you what I do and how I got there. I didn't, I wasn't always this, but I think that I can show you how to take a shortcut to it. So let's get into it. So I want to start by showing you a little bit of what I do. This next slide is video of me DJing at Westfest, which is an annual festival here in Chicago. It attracts about 30,000 people. And I want you to pay special attention to this front row.
Raise your fist together.
So I think they're feeling it. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but next slide. I think that they are feeling it. So, I mean, for some people, they go into a scene like this, and this looks really unusual, but I see this all the time, because I'm really trying to speak to people when I'm playing. I have something to say that is liberatory. And as an international DJ, I've been able to travel the world liberating people using music this way to do this, to take people to the precipice of freedom, right? Where you lose yourself and then you find yourself again, renewed and with a deeper sense of purpose. Next slide. It's not easy. We have a lot going on in our lives, and the pressure can weigh us down, box us in, and we get stuck in our own heads and worry about what other people think of us. And so I call it the perp cycle. Okay. The perp is like when someone's performing or pretending to be something that they're not. And it's a cycle because it can be any one of these things at any given time. And so you kind of stay stuck in this little vortex of trying to be perfect so you don't make any mistakes. So you paralyze yourself, or stuck on presenting yourselves in a way that's palatable to other people, so that they don't reject you, or just holding back, trying to protect yourself. Okay, so the perp cycle really keeps you from being yourself, and you kind of get stuck in this rut of doing what's expected. Okay, next slide. So you settle for the same old, same old. Okay, you forfeit the joy of discovery and the magic that happens when you let yourself go. And that can be extremely unfulfilling. Okay, we lose our originality and our creative identity, and our brand suffers. And the basis for all of this is fear. Okay, how do you overcome it? Slide 6. To overcome, you are going to have to get fearless and be fierce about it. Okay. If you want to stop consistently looking around the corner, see what everybody else is doing, and establishing yourself as a vanguard, and making, your brand into something remarkable, then you need to get like this. Next slide. You need to get like this about life, because life is short. Okay, this is freedom. This is what I want for you. This level of confidence and the freedom to let it all go and be yourself. Okay, your brand is directly tied to your creativity, and your creativity is completely intertwined with your courage. Okay, next slide. So for the last 29 years, I've been able to build a brand as a prolific member of Chicago's creative community as DJ Lady D. And I currently serve as a governor for the Recording Academy Chicago chapter. I'm also the CEO and the former board president for Collaboration, which is a social justice theater company. that has won 3 Emmys, and we are in our 29th year of existence. I consider myself to be a philanthropist. I'm also a consultant, an arts advocate, an educator, a mentor, a mother, and a woman who's broken barriers in a male-dominated field of electronic dance music. As a house music DJ, producer, remixer, label owner, A&R exec, radio host, and mix show DJ. And there are many forms of electronic music, right? But house is my thing. I grew up in it. When it exploded, I was coming of age, so I was right in the middle of all the things. So I want to talk about house music, in Chicago being the birthplace of house music. Next slide. Okay, so for those who aren't familiar, and I know you are, probably most of the people here, the definition, next slide, is this, okay? It's a music genre with a repetitive 4 on the floor beat, typical tempo of 120 beats per minute, it varies somewhere between 120, 130, created by DJs and producers from Chicago's underground club culture in the early to mid 80s, became a worldwide phenomenon, right? So this is what Wikipedia says. Some people consider me an ethnomusicologist of house. And, I've been in books, I've been in documentaries, countless digital broadcasts, print media, at least 5 think pieces about Beyonce's last album, Renaissance, alone. So I'm thrilled to say that only happened because of me being myself. And if I had limited myself based on other people's views of what I should or shouldn't do because of my gender, my age, because I'm a mom, or then I never would have become the next slide, which according to Chicago Magazine is Chicago's house music queen. Okay, so when I say I hacked into living my best life through house music, I totally mean that. I learned to be less inhibited. I learned to be more self-assured. Before I could liberate anybody else, I had to liberate myself. And so I think that you too can use house music to liberate yourselves and become fearless and fierce with your brands. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a little story because you might need some convincing. Okay, next slide. So I know this is going to sound a little suspect, but I started DJing unofficially when I was 3. Okay. My 2 older brothers who were 14 and 18 at the time. I don't know if you noticed, those look like little records on my shirt, but I was surrounded by professional equipment and, not Fisher Price, like Sony, Pioneer, Techniques, all the amps, all the compressors, all that stuff when I was growing up. And this early exposure created this like deeply intense connection to music and the technicality of it. And so when Beyonce made her, Grammy Award winning album Renaissance, I was stoked. It's based on Chicago house music. So I was definitely down with it. Next slide. So when you see I was in high school, house music exploded. The parties, the teen juice bars, the Catholic high schools, the radio, everybody was in on it. Everybody was into this new thing called house music. And many of my guy friends and classmates, they were DJs. And so because of my early exposure to the equipment through my brothers, even though I was a girl, it was really nothing for me to go hang out and play music with all these guys. And when I went to college, I had a radio show on our campus station. And so, even then I loved playing music for people. So after graduation, naturally, I went ahead and enrolled in medical school. Okay, naturally. Next slide. Right. Yes. So that was kind of a misstep. After a couple of years, it became clear that I had taken the wrong path. I was doing it for my parents' approval, and I was not living in my truth. And so I began to suffer. And I felt lost. I was most likely depressed. I slept all the time. I didn't open the curtains for my high-rise apartment with my beautiful view of downtown Chicago for months. Okay, so the school and I decided that I would take a year off and possibly return. It was the best decision because at the end of that year, I learned things about myself, such as med school was not for me. I learned that I liked going out to clubs. I learned I like being social. house music was still popping. So I remembered that house music was a panacea for me for getting out of my head, for letting go, and really feeling happy. And so I felt alive again. And then going back was not an option. Okay. I would have to be fearless. I would have to be fierce and tell my parents that I was not going to be a doctor. Okay. But through house music, I really learned how to feel my way through it all. And who knows, without it, I may not be here. I actually was really depressed when I look back on it. So next slide. So as an almost doctor, I always say music is medicine, okay? But I happen to believe that house music has a little extra something, and science actually agrees with that. So there are physical and mental health benefits to house music. Next slide. They have been researched, they've been documented, and several studies point to the mood improvement that comes from listening to house music. There's a natural high that's caused by the release of dopamine, and there's an adrenaline rush from the crescendos that are built into the music. And when you put them together, house music makes being, human feel really good. So when a great DJ plays really good music, all of these physiological responses create quite the cocktail. And it looks something like this. The next slide. Okay. Liberation, total freedom of expression. And that's a memorable experience. And that's what you want to strive for every day with your brand. Your organization, your business, your personal brand should be about naturally creating these memorable experiences for everybody that you encounter. The more authentic the experience, the more loved and trusted your brand is going to be. Next slide. In 2015, I went to get my master's in health communication, and I started providing career advisement and lecturing on branding to up and coming creatives at Columbia College Chicago. And I would always tell the students that a brand is how people remember you. Okay. Doing what everybody else does is forgettable. To be an original and do your thing, that's how you get the love. And what people mostly remember is how you make them feel. So being your true self is something that we kind of have to work at. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, it takes repetition, it takes consistency. And the more we practice, the better we become. The more we practice not giving a fuck, the better we become at that. Okay. I learned it through DJing. The next slide. I also learned that one of the things that all DJs have in common is that we have to listen to lots of music, and it makes us some of the best listeners in the world. We set ourselves apart by what we select to play and how we play it. And we do it by actively discerning the good from the bad and kind of knowing what's right and what's right for you mostly. That's paramount. So reading the room, AKA paying attention, okay, actively tuning into the nonverbal responses of the audience, taking that immediate feedback and being flexible and inclusive, and then aiming to make connections with not just the people in front of you in your immediate view, but the people, in the corners and in the back and the ones in the margins, okay? And mostly important, I think, is taking risks, okay? Fear is a hindrance to creativity and progress. Nobody is perfect. You are not going to be perfect. A lot of us use a lot of tools now to create a perfect sound, but I think that that is a hindrance to creativity and to progress. I think you have to test yourself and not get it right. One of the great things about Ron Hardy was that he constantly fucked up, but through his messing up, he created some of the most memorable experiences for people. He was never trying to be perfect. His irreverence was what got him, his reputation. So I want to close by saying that, house music is more than a genre. It's more than a creative outlet for DJs or even a means to an awesome physiological response. Like, it's a culturally significant lifestyle. And the ethos behind house music is the thing that makes it unique and makes it popular and beloved. Because house music came from people of color and queer people coming out of the 70s disco backlash. and spurned on events like, by events like the disco demolition, which, it's no coincidence that it took place here in Chicago. People just trying to be themselves faced discrimination going to clubs that had extreme door policies for BIPOC and queer people. And all the signs pointed to that if they didn't create their own spaces, there would be no spaces for them at all. And so people decided to do things their own way. They created safe spaces and clubs like the Warehouse. And they promoted a community of like-minded, anti-discriminatory, anti-racist, anti-homophobic people. And even though they called disco demolition the night the disco died, we all know that it gave way to house music. So it never really died. It just went underground. Next slide. So disco's revenge, like Frankie said, okay, in the house music community, the participants visualized a world, oops, next slide, that, where people were seen for their humanity. And they used the music to unite people, and music that had uplifting messages, okay, of love and hope and charity. And, the one of the most played and sampled house records is My House by Rhythm Control, which says, at the end, you may be Black, you may be white, you may be Jew or Gentile. It doesn't make a difference in our house. And it's those types of enduring, unifying themes that's made house music so endeared. And so, we celebrated 40 years of house in 2024 as a way to bring it back into the cultural zeitgeist, but to let people know we've been here, we're still here, and we're going to keep going. And so I want to just, leave you with a little bit of a gift of house music. There's a QR code on this next page to a Spotify playlist that I curated. Has a lot of, it's kind of a starter kit for people who, maybe you're off into another genre, don't really know all the, kind of early house stuff. Some of this is like a starter kit as far as I'm concerned, to kind of like bring you in. But I think that, when you go out to play for people, you can play music that is all about the party, but you can also play music that reaffirms your personal beliefs, right? So that it is uplifting people and is giving them something to think about and to ponder and to take home with them and sort of get in you, right? So my thought is, while the dopamine is hitting people, hit them with that double dose of a good uplifting message, so that maybe their next day is better, or they make the next day for somebody else better. Okay, so celebrate yourselves and allow yourselves to really feel it. Okay, the house music way, which is judgment free, fearless, and oh so fierce. Okay, you got this. And that's how I'm going to end this talk. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much for listening to me today.
Dee, you took us to church right now. You had Andrea up in here crying in the chat, girl, screaming, crying, throwing up. Like, this message is so timely, I think, for all of us as people striving to stay in community, striving to create impact, striving to stay creative, striving to just get the fuck out of bed in the morning in a really uncertain feeling world in nearly every way we can imaginable. Um, and so thank you for sharing this. Thank you for giving us something to do. Like, thank you for giving us something happy and joyful to focus on. And for the reminder that, we are our own saviors. We built the community that we need, and that we want, and we each have the power to do that. It's a timely reminder, and yeah, we're grateful for you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everybody that came in, all the participants that are still here. And I'm looking at the comments. I mean, I wasn't trying to make anybody cry. I tried not to go there, but I'm glad that everybody received it so well. So I appreciate that too.
Yeah, they're good tears, as Andrea said, they're good tears, they're happy tears. We have like a few minutes. If anybody has any questions, I'll open it up for a little bit. I'm worried about DEI programs being dismantled. Do you think it will affect music, especially large festivals, if they don't have to have diverse lineups? Not anywhere Fem House be at. I'll tell you that right now. Um, we are committed. It's part of why I chose to roll out this programming now at this moment in history. You have Fem House's word because you have my word. We are committed to keeping it fucking going. It's more important than ever. It's more needed than ever. Um, and don't worry about those girls. If they don't let us in the door, we gonna build our own doors. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
also
know.
there's
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that, I think DEI can be a placeholder for like what happened with the disco demolition, for what happened in the Nixon administration, what happened in Obama administration, what happened in what's happening in Bush's administration, like Lady D was saying, we go underground, we create our spaces, if not, like from coast to coast, there are lineups that you can go to, like Poppy Juice up in New York. You got Southern Fried Queer down in Atlanta. You got Ascension in New Orleans. There's parties all over the place that like are not needed in these large festivals anyways because they're not booking the girls either. And if they are, it's a sprinkle here, it's a sprinkle there. You know what I mean? Just to like do the things. So I think it's just like remembering that. Also, if you don't see it in your city, then bring it to your city too.
Right.
Yeah, the culture is underground, and the culture, in a lot of ways, remains underground because that's where it thrives and that's where it can have the biggest impact on its people. So there are and have been there, Black people have never left this space. Queer people have never left this space. That's not what they show you down to the Grammys and stuff like that, or wherever the hell y'all be at, down to EDC and stuff like that. Shit. Hey Pedro, hey Joe, whatever. But we're here and we do our things and we protect our people, we showcase our people, we highlight our people. Um, and don't worry about it. I live in upstate NY. The DJ scene is very white male dominated. As a white person, how can I best lift up Black and brown DJs and producers aside from playing their music? What does this look like on a small scale in a local community? Book them, pay them, amplify them, censor them. How do we manage recognizing allies while also keeping them in check? Don't ask me, girl. I don't have I'm not democratic in that way. I'm gonna give it to somebody else, one of these other girls, because they know how I act when I'm off camera. So I'm skipping that question for me, but they can answer if they want. My answer is talk to a meme, but
I think it's important to be very direct with people. I just don't beat around the bush. I think you have to tell people where they make a misstep and where they did well. So you can, balance it by, like you did this well, but what you could do better is XYZ, right? So I'm all about the constructive criticism, but giving it to you raw, uncut, I don't like to sugarcoat things. I don't think that's sugarcoating either. I think that's balance.
Yeah. I was trying to find a book, but listen, I'm a nerd and I'm
one thing
all
about you, you got a book about it, huh?
I got a book, but also I I'm someone who in theory I love conflict because I think we can learn so much from conflict,
Sure.
like especially when it comes to our allies. Because unfortunately we do need them when it comes to some of the things that we're up against right now. And Adrienne Marie Brown just released this book called Loving Corrections, and it's talking about like what it looks like to love somebody when you need to like correct them. So I think this is like such a great thing to speak to when it comes to like our allies, because right now, listen, we ain't got time to be squabbling up, okay? Like
That's
the
true. It's
left,
facts.
listen, I mean the left, excuse me, the right, like they hate each other, but they hate us more.
Well, one thing about it, they're gonna be in lockstep with a
And
hatred.
lock is step. So
Mhm.
if we want to win, if we want to like be able to push back, we're gonna have to bring our allies in. but also like we're gonna have to do it with grace, and we're gonna have to do it like with love. And also I'm saying that we have to do that with each other too. Like, don't be
Yeah.
turning up on each other. I need us to turn up on the state. Okay.
That's
Right,
big facts.
that part.
That's big facts. Any other questions from chat? Samantha, if you're still here, drop your event stuff in drop all the details. We'll get it up on the website, and I'm sure everybody here gives a damn and wants to support you however we can.
I like it.
My favorite song this month, Andrea, is a song that I am actually recording for LP right now.
Love it. Love that.
No, that's right. We need HERMIXALOT back. Okay.
We
We
do
need
need her mix a lot back. Girl, your girl's
that.
throat chakra and sacral was clogged up. I have to do some healing works.
Listen, come on.
They open as hell now, though. Y'all about to be sick of me.
Oh, we're ready. All right. We're ready. We are ready.
Being
Yes.
honest, do you feel like it's okay for a white male DJ to play primarily tribal, Afro, Middle Eastern, and ethnic forms of house music? In theory, my immediate answer to that is no. And also, I think there is a way to do that and pay homage. And the problem isn't white DJs doing that, it's that they do it and don't fucking say anything and act like, and they often take edits from black DJs and producers that they find on SoundCloud and pass them off live as if they're their own blends and stuff like that, which also pisses me off. But yeah, we need music. We should all be playing everybody's music, all of our music. That's what music is for us to play it and amplify it on different stages and different settings, get different perspectives on it, share people's tastes and learn from one another. Um, the trouble isn't the sharing, it is the exploiting, the taking, the not crediting, the colonizing, if you will. They not like us, they not like us, they not like us. I put a question in the Q&A section. How do I get more involved with FemHouse? Are you hiring community reps, etc.? We are not hiring. Spoiler alert, we're a nonprofit, which is code for broke. Community reps, where are you at, love?
Did we lose sound?
The tri-state area. Okay.
Oh.
The tri-state area. What's that? New York, Jersey, and stuff like that.
I think so.
Yeah. We're always doing stuff like there. So hit our website up. It's Notice Me Mom at excuse me, hit our email up. It's Notice Me Mom at thisisfemhouse.com. Our new culture site is thisisfemhouse.com/for the culture. I'm gonna put the recordings there. They're also gonna be on YouTube. I'm gonna put all the resources that G and D had for us in their presentations. We're gonna be dropping playlists. Samantha, we're gonna put your event up there. And yeah, that's what we up to. Are you still hosting events in San Francisco? We host events wherever the check's clear, girl. Are there still master classes available? Yes, there are still master classes available. That is none of my personal business, but you can email notice me mom at thisisfemhouse.com and somebody will help you. That person will not be me. Hampstead, North Carolina. Tired, go get your order. Okay, love, I feel you. You are welcome for the wisdom and the levity. You have to laugh through it, girl. The sky is falling otherwise, bitch. Oh my God.
It is.
Um, So, thank you. It means everything to me that you guys came and that you showed up for this. I know it's new. I know it's not something we've done before. And so the fact that you showed up, it means a lot to me as this is my new baby. In part two, we're going to talk more about activism. We're going to give more concrete examples about what was happening in these clubs and how they were impacting things like the HIV crisis and et cetera, and just like mutual aid and the starting of mutual aid community driven work, and take some examples. and dissect them and let you know how you can take it into your own communities. And that is, I think, 2 weeks from now. Thank you, Gigi. You know, Unc don't know.
The 28th.
The 28th. We'll see you back here. We hope you all come back, tell a friend, and love. I think you're gonna say more about how to get involved. Is it you're the person that's in North Carolina and stuff like that? Um, you know what? Can you hit up the email address here? I'll put it here because um we're looking for some artists in North Carolina right now. See what happens when you come to the Friday night girlies? When you come to
That's it.
Bible study with your aunties,
Please.
you leave with a job.
Okay. If y'all the aunties, I guess I'm the Grammy, because let me tell you, I'm having a viral moment on TikTok right now because of the elevator music. So
Yes.
I made the mistake of like going through the comments. And they're so cute. They definitely are calling me auntie, and which is great. But a few were like, look at grandma get it. I said, wow.
Oh my
I
God.
know, but you know, the kids. Okay,
The
so
kids.
I
Yeah.
know. I had it did make me giggle a little bit. I was like, I guess I could be.
Y'all are starting to drop your locations and ask how you can help and stuff like that, girl. I don't know right now. This second, I gotta go pick up my daughter from school. But y'all have the email address. We'll keep everybody updated with everything via socials and websites. Thank you so much. And Dee is taking over Fem House Radio all month long, every Wednesday and Thursday on Sirius XM. I will tell my daughter that you said hi, Andrea. Thank you so much. Happy Black History Month. This is one of the blackest things that I've ever had the pleasure of doing as a representative of Fem House, and we're going to keep the same energy moving forward. Thank y'all for being here. Big love to my siblings here, D and G. Y'all know what it is. I love y'all.
Love you.
Peace.